Hello, team. It's time for the Daily Detangler.
All right, embracing the new, and thought I'd use the tangles today, and because tangles are really, really related to and triggered by exploring or engaging in something new, that trigger event of, whoa, here's something new. I thought I would explore that. And this has to do with learning by doing, because I've looked at what activators put out with regard to tangles. I've looked at what Mercedes put out with regard to tangles, and what Jenny shared with her being tangled. And Catalyst and I have talked a lot about what he's been struggling with and how he's using tangle. And I can really relate to seeing how people use these, and it's been super helpful. And all of them are in relation to something new, and these situations of engaging in something new. Some of these are a little bit, I guess, for lack of a better word, disruptive, new disruptions, highly disruptive new, and others are more of an evolutionary aspect. So there's seeing and experiencing something new that's transformative, and then experiencing something new which is more evolutionary. And either way, no matter what I'm thinking is, no matter what happens in that, there's always some sort of tangle that happens. The more transformational the experience, the bigger the tangle. At least that's my own background as I've worked through and discovering new things and exploring new things in these detanglers. When I've pushed myself to really get outside my comfort zone and explore what's happening in a specific situation that I've never encountered before, the bigger the tangle, because it's more transformational to me. And I think that happens in a group setting as teams go through and then groups of people go through and experience disruption or evolution. And one of the things that I had put out in last week's Detangler was this idea that something new stretches us, and sometimes I can handle that stretch, and sometimes it feels like the rubber band is going to break. And it's a constant balancing act between comfort on one hand and discomfort on the other. And when I look at getting outside my comfort zone and getting uncomfortable and being, discomforted, balancing those two things is where I've had the most growth. If I'm too comfortable, I don't grow. And then if I get overwhelmed with the complexity, I don't grow. And the interesting thing here is, when it comes to relieving the pressure, how do I tell myself I can do it, right? How do I tell myself that I can do this thing, that I can be comfortable in the discomfort? I can do it. And at the same time, how do I recognize when I'm telling myself to get back into my comfort zone and telling myself I can't or I won't? And it's this weird paradox. The times I use I can't or I won't, I'm actually trying to be comfortable. The times where I'm discomforted, I don't use the I can and I that much. So what's up with that? What's up with that? And what's happening there? Because that regulation, if you will, the regulation of that pressure affects my growth. And that's where the stretch happens. And we've had some experiences here, right? Like we took the leap, and we did that hang glider exercise, and we emoted and we looked at it logically and we thought about the environment and what it would take to be on the hang glider and to take that leap. And, you know, I thought to myself at some point in that journey, I can't do it. And sometimes in that journey, I said I can do it. And it would be awesome. And then in that journey, at some point, I was like, I wonder what's really happening here. And that's the, challenge of getting tangled is how do I stay in that spot when I'm experiencing something new to grow? And, tangles suck me back into the I can't, and tangles prevent me from saying I can. So they're a barrier to my growth. So, stuck in the mud, the exercise we did on the stuck in the mud, the truck, well, I won't get out and I won't push, or I get tangled around that. I can't do it. And then I get tangled around saying, here's what I can do. Here's what I will do. And I get tangled around being curious about what's really happening. Why don't I ask what's happening? Why don't I say, well, I will do it? What's up with that? It's much easier to say I won't. And the reason for that is it's easier to get back into my comfort zone. Or, sticking my neck out. I don't always post, but when I do, I spend hours weighing out the risks and just typically back out of my original idea, right? Sticking my neck out on LinkedIn. Why don't I do that? And why can't I do that? And why do I say I can't? And then what's tangling me up from saying I can? And then what's tangling me up from asking, well, what's really happening there? What's up with that? What's really happening? And all of these things kind of hit in a sweet spot for me. And not a psychology class, but I think there is this emotional aspect of detangling, which is, what is the root feeling I get when I'm tangled? When I'm tangled, I usually get to some sort of feeling in my stomach. What is that? And what does it feel like to be tangled? Where does it feel like to be stuck in the I can't? And then what does it feel like to be stuck in how come, I can't say I will do it? How come I'm not saying that? What's up with that? Or how come I'm not exploring? And what's in that pit of my stomach, that feeling? And for me, it's apprehension. And apprehension is in this yellow slice here, fearful. That might sound convenient that being fearful is a barrier to growth. But I mean, this has been a multi-year journey to figure out what is my challenge of what's holding me back, and then more importantly, what type of environment can flip that? What type of environment can I get into that flips my apprehension? How do I lean into a team that helps me be less fearful? How do I work on myself, my individual lens, and figure out how to be more positive with, getting rid of the stinking thinking? Sure, I have work to do there, but in a transformational VUCA world, I get a lot of inputs that make me fearful. So what is my cocoon? How do I lean into a safe environment that allows me to explore and to detangle myself? And what is that environment? Well, it'd be principle driven, right? It would be clear expectations. It would be committed to excellence. It would be respectful and understanding and flexible. And what made me think of that was what Lindsay and Jenny put out with the little happy hour thing. That's a great idea, I think, because it creates a positive input and positive reinforcement. And that's huge for somebody like me, because it's very easy for me to be fearful and apprehensive, especially in a new environment with a new group, etc. So the environment's critical to me, and that's why I like the idea of teams so much. And then obviously from my own perspective, there's individual things I can do. But when I look at getting detangled and embracing the new environment, embracing the principles, the expectations, maybe even the humor side, right? And recognizing that an environment is critical, I can start engaging in something new. So what does that look like? So let's look at my favorite tangle, the time tangle. And, what have I learned in telling myself and experiencing this apprehension about time, right? Being fearful about time and being tangled about time and having this feeling in my gut. Well, I have no time for something new. And when I plot that out and say, okay, well, I've got no time for something new, what do I know for sure, right? Well, the language I use is really critical. So if I'm using the language of I can't and I won't, that actually is sucking me to my comfort zone because it's holding me back. That's the thing that really resonates with me here is when I'm listening to, Brooke and Jenny and Mercedes and Scott talk about their tangles, they're not using the language of I can't and I won't. They're using the language of here's what I can do and here's what I will do, which for somebody like me, when the tangle is busy and the tangle is big, that's actually uncomfortable. For me to say I can and I will is uncomfortable. I have to be intentional about saying I can and I will when I'm tangled. It's counterintuitive that this discomfort will bring me to stretch zone, the growth zone, that the idea of becoming more comfortable actually holds me back from that. So for example, if I'm saying, well, we don't have time, we can't get it done, it's not going to happen, I'm basically saying I can't and I won't do it. But on the flip side, if I'm like, hey, I will make the time, I will make the time to write it up, I will make the time to structure my feedback for a reaction, I can use asynchronous methods when I have time to contribute, I can do those things, I can and I will. And when I do that, I can ask myself, well, why am I really here and what do I see? Why am I really here and what do I see? And these are important questions for me that motivate me. I'm not here just to hear myself talk or to just publish detanglers or whatever. There's a hero's journey that I'm on, my quest. Why am I here? And then what do I see? I can always answer, what do I see? I can always answer that, right? So all I have to do is do it. What about I need more before I can do something new? This one's a big one for me too. And if I'm going to say the language of comfort and the language of discomfort, it's counterintuitive. The language of comfort is I can't and I won't. It sucks me back in my comfort zone. Being uncomfortable, putting myself on the idea of the backward bike, for example. The backward bike makes me uncomfortable. There's discomfort in that. And I can get on the backward bike. I will get on the backward bike and I will choose to be uncomfortable because knowledge does not equal understanding. And the backward bike is a perfect representation of that. He didn't say I can't and I won't. Let me just go back to the other bike. He said, I'm going to choose to be uncomfortable. And he geeked out about it because he was able to answer, what do I see? Let me share what I see. And remember why I'm here. It's about my belief that we can get smarter every day. And so what do I need? Well, my language here is not going to be, there's not enough detail. What's the background story? We didn't get what we needed. That pulls me into my comfort zone. What if I could say, well, what can I do to help? I'll ask somebody else what they see, and I'm going to role play this out. I'm going to intentionally be uncomfortable and publish that in a detangler and see what happens because of why I'm here. The control tangle, this idea of control, and I have to do something new my way. This is something new that none of us have experienced before, but we're going to do it my way. And you know, my way is the same thing as saying I can't and I won't, as opposed to figuring out how to get uncomfortable and saying I will do it, something new. It doesn't have to be my way. From a comfort zone perspective, it's, you know, what sucks me back into and holds me back is saying things like, well, this isn't what I would do. The font and the colors are wrong. Go change it. And this doesn't apply to me. Where's the growth in that? It might feel like I'm saying some things, but where's the growth in that? It holds me back from this zone, from the growth. But on the flip side, if I say, look, what can I do? What will I do to get uncomfortable? Well, I will make the time. Hang on a second. What I meant to say is I can choose to say, I will hear out someone else about their idea for doing something new. I will try it and see what happens. And I can share the positives, the wins along the way, even though I might not know exactly, quote unquote, how to do it. And it might feel outside my comfort zone. I can make that choice. I can have that choice and make that choice, so that I can learn, and drive that interaction, that experience. Not sure about doing something new. I'm not sure. I'm unsure. Again, that feeling in my gut of being apprehensive, fearful, plotting that out, right? It's very easy to say I can't do it, I won't do it. But what does that sound like? Well, it sounds like I tried this, be failed. I'm stupid. I'm worried that this is going to turn out bad. I hit the send button, but I'm sure I'm going to get eviscerated. You know, and that language actually brings me back to my comfort zone. It doesn't stretch me. It holds me back into this zone. The language of I can't and I won't puts me back here because I'm trying to rationalize back to what I've already known, versus saying to myself, well, I will share what's on my mind and I'll just see what others say. And I can identify and determine what's realistic, right? And I can choose to believe that nobody's going to get hurt here and nobody's going to die by me sending an email, right? And I can do headspace and I can do positive affirmations daily. I can choose to surround myself with different people that help me get outside my comfort zone so that I can stretch and grow. What about the waist tangle? Well, you know, what does that sound like? For me, it sounds like, well, we already did this. We already tried this. We're already doing this. It's something we already got in progress. I heard there was something else that was relevant to this. Maybe we should look at it. Those comments hold me back into my comfort zone versus the I can and I will language. I can humble up and share what's on my mind. I will find ways to become more empathetic. I will do that. I can state and share the win-win-win for all of us. I can say it. You know, I can get outside my comfort zone and say, I believe if you listen to the detanglers and try your own detanglers or daily output, that you will learn more doing that than listening to me. You know, it makes me uncomfortable to say. So that's my thoughts around this idea of the language I use, and the tangles when they pop up, and when I have that feeling of apprehension, which really is my predominant feeling. I have that predominantly. How do I choose to let my head overrule my stomach? How do I let my head overrule my emotion and figure out how to lean into the growth zone by asking myself and saying to myself what I will do and what I can do, not what I can't and won't. Look forward to your feedback on today's detangler. Take care.